What's up, guys? This is Devin with Central Effects Studios, back with another video. And today we're going to be talking about just a question I got in my question box on YouTube, basically explaining, hey Devin, I'm going to get a T8i. I saw your T8i video. I want to get a Tamron lens for it. Will the Tamron lens work on the 90D better or the T8i better? It was a question similar to that. And he or she basically wanted to know, should I get a third-party lens to save money, or should I do something else, or is this worth my time because I'm spending a lot of money on the 80D and or the 90D, and I want to get a lens for a cheap price? Well, in my opinion, Tamron makes some great lenses, especially these newer lenses. I haven't got my hands on these newer lenses, but if they're anything like what I've been hearing in my research, there's some great lenses. They're pretty good. They're extremely close to Sigma. They weren't as close to Sigma back in the day, but now since I guess manufacturing processes have gotten better, they have better build quality on their lenses. So it also, or in general, it's going to depend on what you get as far as when it was made, old versus new. I have older Tamron lenses, the 90mm macro 2.8 for Canon, one of my amazing lens, one of my favorite lenses, but I don't drop that lens at all. But it has some good construction. There is one Tamron lens that I had dropped in the past. It was the 17-55 zoom lens. And you have to understand, since it's a zoom lens, it has a lot of moving parts. Those moving parts are all susceptible to be broken, especially the way the runners and the bearings and all the plastic stuff runs inside that lens up against metal. So you got plastic rolling up against metal for a silent sound, a more sleek movement on your hands. So you don't have a full metal construction on pretty much any lens, not even the 70-200 that's back here by my shoulder. The 70-200 on the inside, I've been inside of it, and I know that it has rubber gaskets and plastic parts that actually make the sound dampen, because you don't want metal on metal contact because it's going to make a noise. That noise can distract video, distract people around you, photo, video, and it probably is not the smoothest action when it comes to focusing and zooming. So that's something you want to actually worry about, is making sure that you know that your lens is not all metal, even though they say it's metal. So if you drop it, it's susceptible to being broken in many ways. Tamron is no different, but Tamron has just weaker build quality. So if you get a newer lens, you're less likely to get it broken. But Canon lenses and the Canon EOS system itself, the EF lens mount itself, it has a really sensitive contact base. So what I mean by that is little contacts, little pins that line up when you click that lens into place. They are designed to reject the lenses that are not designed to go in the Canon body. The same thing if you put a third-party battery into a Canon, camera, and it's not a Canon brand battery. It's going to ask you, hey, especially on these newer cameras. The older cameras can't tell, but the newer cameras, hey, is this a Canon branded battery? Are you sure? And you're going to say no, yes, or whatever. And it's going to tell you, hey, well, we can't vouch for this performance of this battery or whatever. You can use it at your own risk, kind of thing. They're that sensitive about batteries. So you can imagine their cash cow, their baby, their lenses, they're going to be extremely sensitive about what lens you put on there. So if a company makes a lens for Canon, if anything happens where it's not sending the best signals from the Canon body to the Canon lens, or the Canon made lens from the third party, you know it's going to bounce a signal back to you saying, hey, contact error, it can't work. And it happened to me with my 17-55. That 17-55 took one tumble, one time. One good tumble is all it took for it to say, hey, can't read this lens. It's a 2.8 lens, 17-55. It's a kit lens range. As far as the focal distance is concerned, it has a 2.8 aperture. It's your step-up lens after you get past your kit lens. A lens with a constant aperture that does not bog down your light. A lot of people bought this lens. So, you take one tumble, it's done. So my advice to you would be, it doesn't matter if you get a T8i or a 90D. Get the camera. Once you get the camera, it should work with any Tamron lens that's designed for Canon bodies. You can get a Tamron lens that's designed for a Canon body. Just know if you get the older one just might not work out as well as far as dropping it. And you want to test it. If you get it used, you want to test it before you really like go through buying it, because you got to understand that somebody could have dropped it, could have had a little lens, something might have malfunctioned at some point in time. Now, if this happens, sometimes you can, with the 80D, I was able to cut it on, cut it off, cut it in the manual mode, cut it on, cut it off, jerry rig it, or as my teacher used to say, Afro engineer it and make it work, especially if you put it on manual mode where it's not trying to send too much information about auto exposing and auto focusing back and forth from the lens. And you should also, if you run into this problem where you drop your Tamron lens on your Canon body, you should put it in that mode where it says shoot without lens available, or it's a mode, it's a menu setting in your camera that says shoot without lens, and you should activate it and tell it, yes, I want to shoot without lens, or I want to be able to shoot it without a lens, because some things are designed to actually work with the Canon body, like extenders and stuff like that, or maybe some extension tubes that don't have contacts and it doesn't even know if you're shooting with the lens or not. So all that being said, it's only but so much information the camera can go without before it tells you it can't work, and you'll get a big red X on your Canon camera if this does happen to you. Another piece of advice: to get a cheaper fast lens like a 2.8, get an older Canon 24-70 or 14-24 or 70-200. Those are your holy grail focal distances, and Canon has had years of those same lenses coming out. A version 1, 2, 3, 70-200 version 1, 2, 3, 2.8 version 1, 2, 3, you know, all these other things. So get a cheaper version for that. I advise KEH Camera. They're always a good trusted advisor or trusted merchant, trusted store. So you don't have to worry about all this, you know, eBay and Craigslist stuff, even though I have bought some stuff off of eBay once upon a time. All right, guys, I'm done with CFX Studios. I hope this helps anybody who has this question, and stay tuned for the next video.